What's up everybody, Bandit here. So about a year ago we compared these two trucks, the Z71 Colorado and the TRD Off-Road Tacoma. Now since then there's been a lot of miles and a couple modifications put on each truck, but the main thing we're here to talk about today is the new competition, and that is the new Ford Ranger coming next year. So unfortunately we won't be able to have that behind me just yet. It won't come until January of the 2019 calendar year. But overall, I would say these are the two main competitors. The other two competitors that are still in the market are the Nissan Frontier, which is unfortunately a little bit long in the tooth and in need of a little bit of a refresh itself, and the Honda Ridgeline, which is admittedly a little bit more of a car than it is a truck. Now, as we talked about last time, these two trucks have a lot of similarities. This one has a 3.6 liter V6, this one has a 3.5 liter V6. They both make roughly the same horsepower. You're looking at roughly 278 horsepower in the Tacoma, a little over 300 for the Colorado, but overall, as you can see, the trucks do stack up fairly nicely. Now, neither one of these trucks are lifted. My Tacoma here does have a little bit bigger tire setup, but overall they are very similar. They're offered in both the four-door configuration and the extended cab, and overall they make for some really good truck options. Now this is where the Ford Ranger really starts to separate itself. Now the Colorado here has an 8-speed transmission, the Tacoma has a 6-speed automatic, and both of those transmissions still have less gears than the new Ranger, which will come in a 10-speed. Also, the new Ranger comes with a 4-cylinder turbo. It's the same EcoBoost roughly that is in the new Mustang EcoBoosts, but it does make a little bit more torque, a little less horsepower. It actually makes less horsepower than the Tacoma at 270, but does have in-class leading torque for a gas motor. It doesn't quite compete with the Duramax here in the Colorado and the Canyon. But also, it's claiming to have best-in-class payload and best-in-class fuel economy. Now, both of these trucks do average roughly 20 miles to the gallon, both in real-world driving and according to the EPA. Now, the EPA is saying that the Ranger, with its 4-cylinder turbo, will be able to get roughly 1 to 2 miles per gallon better. Now, all this remains to be seen. The EcoBoosts in the F-150 have been a great seller, but not always do they make the same fuel economy claims that the EPA does. It seems like with the EcoBoost you either get the eco part or the boost part, but it's really hard to achieve both at the same time. These with the V6s may be a little bit more thirsty, but they always make good power and are a good bit more of a simple engine compared to that EcoBoost. Now, Ford is claiming that this new Ranger is all new, but that's not exactly true. It has been part of Ford's global products for the last maybe 5 or 6 years, I believe. So really, we're just getting a more Americanized version. The rest of the world gets a diesel. We are not. We are also getting that 10-speed that was co-developed with GM and Ford. And overall, it should be a very, very good seller and a pretty good all-around truck. It does use a little bit different formula that these two have, but overall, there are a lot of people that bought into the original Ford Ranger that I think have been waiting to trade up for a new one. Now that actually brings up a really unique point. So the original Ford Ranger was a good bit smaller. You look at the two of these trucks and they are huge in comparison. Also, the old Ford Ranger was a good bit cheaper. The new Ford Ranger, compared to the Z71 and the TRD Off-Road, does come in to be a little bit pricier and comes in with less options. You can only get that EcoBoost 4-cylinder, and you can only get an automatic transmission. Gone is the single cab configuration, gone is the manual transmission, and gone is a 6-cylinder option. Now, I think this is pretty surprising. Ford just made an all-new 3-liter naturally aspirated V6 that is only available in the low trim levels of the F-150, and I think that would be an excellent competitor to these two trucks. Obviously, that engine will be a little bit smaller, but at least in the F-150 application, it does make very, very similar power and pretty good fuel economy. Also, I think it would help to bring down that price a little bit. Unfortunately, those EcoBoost 4-cylinders do cost a little bit more. You could see that when Ford made all 3 variants of the Mustang, the naturally aspirated V6, the EcoBoost, and then the V8, obviously. And the EcoBoost was actually a good bit more expensive than the V6, and then eventually they phased out the V6. Now, another thing to keep in mind here is the size. Like we just talked about, these trucks are a good bit bigger. But rest assured, Ford is already on top of that as well. So testing in Detroit the past couple weeks has been a new version of the Ford Courier. Now, the Ford Courier was available several decades ago, but it was a very, very small truck, more of kind of a car-based truck. It wasn't quite as rough and rugged as the F100 back in the day. But overall, it was a very good little truck, and I think I'm actually more excited about the Courier than I am the Ranger. The reason for this is Ford didn't really take a new approach with the new Ranger. Unfortunately, the only really exciting trim level that is really different than either one of these two trucks is the Ranger Raptor, and they're saying we're not going to get that. But unfortunately, a lot of truck sales rely on who can haul the most, who can tow the most, but not all mid-size truck buyers buy a truck for that reason. A lot of mid-size truck buyers buy a mid-size truck because it is a good bit cheaper and it's more comfortable, it's easier on your wallet, both at the pump and at the dealership. So this brings us back to that Ford Courier. Now, if Ford would build a truck, say, on the Ford Transit platform or on roughly loosely that new architecture that the Focus is built on for the worldwide market, I think they could sell a lot of vehicles. Now, again, not every buyer is concerned with the rugged off-road ability of a truck. Both of these trucks excel in that, and Ford's F-150 excels in that. I think to get a new share of the market, Ford needs a little bit of a different potion, and I think that could be the answer with the Courier. Now, I'm not saying go completely soft and make it a Ridgeline competitor, but still offer some kind of off-road goodies, adventure goodies. I think that's really what's selling today. You look at, say, the Jeep Renegade. It's not as off-road capable as a new Wrangler, but it still has its own niche in the market and still really sells a lot of units. So here in the country where I live, these two trucks really excel. They're great in four-wheel drive, they're great in the snow, and on a Forest Service road you still have plenty of room on either side, so you're not really scratching up these trucks too bad. But again, not every buyer lives where I live. A lot of buyers are in the city, and a little bit more nimble truck I think would really sell well. However, you still need to keep some of the truck capabilities for those weekend adventures with your buddy. Whether you want to throw a four-wheeler there in the bed or have some kind of camping setup, I think it would be really smart. Now, Ford has already said with the new Ranger that they're going to offer roof racks and rooftop tents that you can add from the dealer and include in your monthly payments. However, I think if they would include this for the Ford Courier as well, I think they could really sell a lot of units. Again, kind of appeal to that first-time truck buyer or younger couple that really don't want to take on the payments of, say, a more expensive mid-size truck, which are increasingly more expensive, to be completely honest, but still want a lot of the adventure capabilities and still a lot of the same fun. So again, I'm not trying to knock the Ford Ranger. I think the original Ford Ranger was an excellent truck. Both the one that was based on the Bronco 2 and the one that came after that they eventually killed off. Now, it has been several years, and again, I think that helps to drum up interest for the new Ranger. I think it'll be a great seller and hopefully a really great truck both now and for several generations to come. However, I really hope that Ford does take this unique approach with the Courier and kind of appeal to the smaller truck people. Mini trucks have been gone for quite some time, and I still personally think there is a market for those type of vehicles. So let me know what you all think. I am really interested to hear your all's opinion, and let me know if you're excited for the new Ford Ranger and the new Ford Courier. So thank you all very much for watching. Have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll catch you next time.